Hey everybody, this is Josh, and here we have Game 3 between WhiteRa, the Ukrainian Protoss player, and he is the red one up here on the top of Scrap Station. His opponent today is going to be Liquid TLO, the purple Terran this time around. He is playing random in this series. He's already been Protoss and Zerg. Now we're going to get a taste of his Terran abilities against WhiteRa in this Game 3. Each player has one win to their name in the best of 5 series, so we're going to see at least 2 more games here, including this one. So we'll see if TLO can get a nice tournament victory under his belt, or if WhiteRa will continue on his rampage of winning everything he enters, or at least getting second place like he did at Intel Extreme Masters European Championship. But the winner of this best of 5 series will be taking home $100 and an automatic qualifying spot for the TSL, a much larger tournament with thousands of dollars in prize pool, taking place later this year. Should be soon, actually. Go ahead and check teamliquid.net for details on the TSL. It's got some invited players, some qualifying players, and it should be a hell of a time. In this game, though, on Scrap Station, we have a nice PVT about to occur. WhiteRa doing the very standard Protoss build so far, and then sending that probe. You know he doesn't have any idea what race TLO is right now. Well, he does have he has some idea. It's either going to be Zerg, Terran, or Protoss. But he needs to know as soon as possible so he can figure out what build he wants to use. This is basically the only advantage you get out of playing random, is you force your enemy to scout you a little bit earlier than they would otherwise do. I'm sure WhiteRa would have sent this scouting probe around the same time, if not the exact same time. So he is going to see this supply depot, going to see this barracks coming up, and he will know for certain that TLO is going to be Terran, so we'll see what WhiteRa chooses to do now that he has this information. TLO, on the other hand, going to be doing a very standard Terran build, and WhiteRa still sticking to what he does best, the very standard Protoss build. Should be seeing a Cybernetics core coming up as the very next building. Both players continuing to make workers, except TLO obviously getting an orbital command, not able to make an SCV right this second, but the Mule will make up for that instantly, and Supply Depot in the way of the Vespene Geyser here. Of course, he can just sink that into the ground, so it won't matter. Getting a factory now, so maybe he'll be going for 1-1-1. Maybe he'll be going for Hellions and Marines. If he does go 1-1-1, he can just get a single medevac, 2 Hellions, 4 Marines, or so. Drop them in that mineral line of WhiteRa and try and wreak some havoc. Cybernetics core coming down as expected for WhiteRa. We'll see how many gateways he chooses to build. If he chooses to expand, if he chooses to get an observer out quite quickly, as he is prone to do against, as he is wont to do, I should say, not prone to do. But he usually gets a robotics facility, cranks out an immortal, or an observer, depending on if he's under attack or not. If he is under attack, he usually gets the immortal. If he hasn't been attacked yet, he usually gets an observer, because he likes to be cautious of banshees. Cloaked banshees can mess you up in a hurry if you're not prepared. So he brings his probe over here to this sort of halfway point, probably going to be dropping a pylon here, which indicates to me more warp gates will be coming, but a robotics facility is coming up for the time being. We'll see what he builds first, how aggressive TLO plays it. He is getting a Hellion, a second Hellion I should say, but he is supply blocked right this second. Now that is over with. Starport being built close to the left side of his base. Of course, that's going to cut the flying distance quite a bit on these already close flying positions here. Second Hellion being made as expected. Lots of Marines out as expected. Perhaps we'll see the 4 Marine 2 Hellion drop like I surmised. We did see him do the exact same thing earlier in a series against All About You, or FXO Moonan as he is now known. Second gateway coming up for WhiteRa, not trying to really wall off here. He is getting a Warp Prism first. What is wrong with you, WhiteRa? I said Immortal or Observer, and you blow my mind with a Warp Prism first. You do have a second gateway coming. Is your Warp Gate tech done? It is just about to be, so this Warp Prism could be quite effective. TLO sending his Hellions the long way around, and then sending the Marines into the back. We see this every now and then. We saw Show do it against WhiteRa in the Intel Extreme Masters European Championship, which I also cast, if you want to check that out on my channel. But yeah, basically what happens here is he drops all the Marines in the back, the 3 Hellions at the front glide right in, as WhiteRa is supposed to actually try and defend against the drop, but now the Hellions are just going to be joining the Marines here in the back. There is a Warp Prism being deployed by WhiteRa, so that is going to go in the picture. Right now we're going to watch and see how much damage TLO can actually do. He even brought an SCV along for the ride to do some spot repairing. I like that move. Some probes being killed off quite quickly. Only 2 Stalkers left to defend here for WhiteRa against this Hellion and these few Marines. where did that medevac go? It is still just chilling back here, not healing anything. He needs to pull that up. There he does. Snag up those 2 Marines. Actually, he's going to drop it because he fears that he will lose the medevac. The Marine and the SCV are just going to be gunned down by these Stalkers. So now we will rejoin WhiteRa in the main of TLO. He does have some Zealots still alive. SCVs being pulled to surround these things. Marines and a single Hellion trying to finish off this last Zealot. So WhiteRa looks like he did some destruction, caused some havoc of his own. Both players counter-harassing the other. TLO does have a bit of a wall off here, which is interesting, just a sunken supply depot for the time being, but of course he can lift that back up if WhiteRa shows up at his front door. WhiteRa did escape with that warp prism, I'm pretty sure. Let's look at the units. Yeah, it's still around somewhere. What did you do with that warp prism? Oh, single Hellion coming back from TLO. He's not quite done with this harassment. He's going to check and make sure WhiteRa is not expanding. Oh, the WhiteRa's... Oh, I'm so sorry. The Warp Prism actually is already back in TLO's base gunning down SCVs, and I feel so bad I'm actually going to rewind because that was silly. Here's the Warp Prism as I was staring at a single Hellion, killing off another Hellion. Right there in the main, SCVs being pulled, force fielded there so they cannot get through this mineral line to attack these Stalkers and Zealots and Sentries. WhiteRa doing a great job keeping his army separate from TLO's. 3 Marines right here and a single medevac healing up these SCVs as they get slowly destroyed here. Is he going to continue weapons? There is another Sentry coming. TLO getting very, very low on SCV count. These 3 Marines still alive though. Couple of medevacs here, trying to heal as much as they can, but there are just not any workers left for TLO at all. More weapons coming now. Oh man, this is looking really bad for TLO. Income tab, we see only 8 harvesters. Going to look at the units tab. We see 9 harvesters and 2 mules up for TLO, and just Zealots, Stalkers, and a single Sentry. WhiteRa's entire army is here. It looks like the Hellion is moving into WhiteRa's main. I'll do the picture-in-picture, but it really seems to me like WhiteRa is just going to continue warping in off of these several gateways and continue to kill off the rest of TLO's economy, which is going to seal the game for him no matter what that Hellion's able to do. 1 warp-in should be able to stop that Hellion anyway. But, yeah, TLO, not sure what you're going to do. Oh, you got a Thor out! Wow, totally didn't even notice you had an army. I am just missing all kinds of things. These 2 players are too good for me to follow sometimes. GG from TLO before that Thor is actually able to do anything. So I hope you guys enjoyed that Game 3. Now let's move into Game 4. WhiteRa takes the lead 2-1. We'll see if TLO can even the odds or if WhiteRa will win Map 4 and become our TL Open champion.